Hey everybody, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and of course to my right, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
Matt!
And
Top of the evening to you.
You won your primary yesterday, I see.
I did. I've lost total respect for the voters in Werendeering.
Yes.
The fact that they can vote me in every 2 years is just beyond the pale.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they should have some sort of judgment, but apparently not.
Right.
It's pretty sad.
Well, that's good, and you get to represent them.
Yes. Wait, tonight our guest is Kurt Wappler, New Hampshire Right to Life?
Yeah, New Hampshire Right to Life.
I got it right.
It's a complicated name.
Representative John Heichel, who is the owner and proprietor of Uptown Auto.
Yes, in Penardville.
Penardville.
Repair. Yeah, fix anything for any car.
So we were just talking, if you guys were about voices, Matt was talking about the voices in head. I remember when I was a teenager, I had voices in my head a lot. They were just like constantly going things. I could hear them, in the background going, do your homework, clean your room, stuff like that. It was terrible. It was
That's
like
called
haunting.
parents, isn't it?
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I heard those same voices.
Oh, really? Yeah. At least I wasn't alone. I should have gone to a self-help group or something, But so anyway, I won the election. We had four people running for 3 seats. A newcomer, Christine Ivanjak, was running against Representative Kirk and Dan Donovan, who was a former state rep, and myself. So all 4 of us. And Christine Ivanjak got a lot of signs out there, but
you crushed her.
No, I wouldn't say that.
But squashed her like a grape.
No, I wouldn't say grape.
Okay.
No, let's use a potato.
Potato.
Potato. Yeah.
Really?
I learned the coolest thing about potatoes. Back in I think it was the Aztecs in South America, they used to take the potatoes and stomp them. Okay? And wring out basically all the liquid out of the potatoes. And once that's done, that potato will last 10 years. They can store
it's dehydrated.
It's dehydrated fundamentally. It's dehydrated, and it can last up to 10 years. So you get carbohydrates that last 10 years without preservatives.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing. I didn't know that until the other day when I was watching some history stuff.
Wow.
Did you
And it
eat
has nothing to
something
do with
that
the election.
somebody stomped on 10 years ago?
Depends on what she looked like.
Depends how hungry I am.
Oh, it has a lot to do with how hungry you are.
Yeah, I think I'd
I'm
pass.
eating MREs.
That pretty much is something that somebody stepped on 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's see. Election. Yeah, so our election went pretty good. Goffstown was crazy. You guys were crazy. Cal Pratt lost, right?
Yeah, Cal lost.
Cal Pratt's been in there for how many terms?
I would assume 4.
3 or 4? 3
Yeah,
or 4
3
anyway,
or 4
right?
Anyway, yeah.
And he lost. He also not to degrade his efforts, but he usually only puts up maybe a dozen signs, if that. So
Yeah, Cal was,
but he always gets in anyway.
he always gets in. He's been there. He's a great vote. He's a great Liberty vote for sure.
Yeah.
I think the state will miss, or Goffstown will certainly miss that vote.
Yeah.
I didn't file this year. I've been in there 3 terms, and I decided that my business and my...
You wanted to make money, you greedy bugger.
I know.
It's terrible.
It's the Republican in
That's
me.
okay. We need some people to make money and pay taxes.
That's right.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true,
especially
too.
people that run businesses. They pay business profits tax, that kind of thing. We need
Right.
that.
We pay employees. We pay, rent, electricity, phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The
insurance.
government doesn't pay that for you?
It doesn't.
That's really
And-
weird.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, I didn't know
They
that.
do subsidize you, though, because you get to write all that off.
Do you get like an Obama phone or anything because you run your own business and you're disadvantaged?
Yeah. No, I don't
No.
get anything, right?
We have a call.
Right.
Oh.
Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
This is Steve.
Hi, Steve. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? This is for a couple of constitutional guys there. A question for you. Have you ever heard of a guy named Arnie Elbert?
I have not.
No.
I have heard of Arnie Alpert. I can't tell you much more than that, but I've heard the last name Alpert.
Right. He's from New Hampshire, and he's always stirring up things about the Constitution. He's
Awful, isn't it?
basically he wants to amend it. Question to you. Tomorrow, I guess, I saw him on the Inside Story today, and he's going up over almost 11,000 signatures, and I forget who he's presenting it to, but it's to amend the Constitution. And I'd like to know if any of you guys will obviously, are you going up there tomorrow? Do you know about this?
No.
Never heard of it.
What
No.
amending the state
I don't-
constitution?
Yeah.
The state
I
of the
guess the state constitution, and I think there might be something else too. I just got like half of it.
But amended for
But
what?
He's going up with almost 11,000 signatures, and I think he's presenting it to either Gene Shaheen or someone else. This is to amend the Constitution.
Well,
That'd be federal.
that'd be
then.
federal
Yeah,
Constitution.
we don't know exactly the facts of that, Steve, but I can tell you that amending the Constitution is not an easy, and it's certainly not as easy as getting 11,000 or 100,000 signatures.
Not to say that
There's
that's easy.
Well, but there's a process of doing it,
Yeah.
and one is that it goes through the legislature as an
Constitutional
a
amendment.
constitutional CACR,
Resolution.
right? No, a CACR, and it's got to pass the House
Yeah, constitutional concurrent
and
resolution.
Senate, right? In a
Two-thirds votes.
Yeah, 2/3 votes, right? And then it's got to go in front of the people on the ballot,
And they get a
it's got to
2/3.
pass a 2/3 majority also.
Yeah.
So he may want to do it.
Nobody. That's why I was asking you if you guys knew about it.
No.
And
I don't-
Going up there are you guys going to go up there to counter it?
I don't-
guess nobody else is going to be countering it because they don't know about it.
Yeah, no, I
Question for you too.
Jeff,
On
hey,
the
Steve,
AR
Steve,
Each
Steve.
article will have to be. I mean, the articles, separate articles, will be amended, not the entire Constitution as
Right.
one sweep. So
It'd have to be one specific thing.
it has
he's
to be
trying
one.
do.
It has to be specific things for each article. So if he has something, certainly, I mean, it might come in front of it. And if somebody wants to sponsor that CACR, also that's the other way to
Well,
do
if he
it.
had 11,000 signatures, I'm sure he'd get a sponsor.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're not a referendum state, so you could have the signature of every man, woman, and child in the state, and it really wouldn't make any difference. You still have to go through the process.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make a difference.
That's
It's-
true.
it'd
There's a
probably
process,
pass,
and most of
but-
the amendments, Steve, have been around since 1784. So in in the New Hampshire Constitution,
Although we did some pretty bad ones just in the 20th century. In 1968, we put the Supreme Court in the Constitution. That was pretty bad.
right, and
That
we
was done.
gutted out Article 6, which took all the words out of education in it. I mean, it's huge in the original Constitution, Article 6. After 1968, it was gutted to just a few words that really doesn't even mention education at all.
But
You see, another question for you real quickly. I know you guys are busy, but do you see anything in the future or something on the books where they're trying to cook up something to actually abolish the AR-15? I know that Massachusetts right now, you can only carry 10 in the magazine, and in New Hampshire, you can go 30 or more. Do you see anything in the future with the AR-15?
no, no, nothing.
Not if they want to get reelected.
No, I don't think you get a gun bill like that through.
Yeah, I don't
through the
think.
New Hampshire legislature, even if the Democrats were in charge.
And they manufacture them right here in the state. There's some small manufacturers, there's some large arm manufacturers that make them right here in New Hampshire.
The thing is that whole argument is kind of bogus because the AR-15 is just a different type of semi-automatic rifle, and that's all it is.
Right. It's
I
not.
mean, if they're going to outlaw that, they'd have to outlaw a zillion hunting rifles and everything else. That's
Yeah.
just a ridiculous.
I mean, they might.
proposition.
The only thing that makes it really, creepy looking, I saw a special on the AR-15 the other night, and it's the way the handle is compared to most other, like, say, a rifle
Yeah.
or a shotgun. It looks like a military weapon, and if you put on all the bells and whistles on it, it looks like an M16 or an AK-47 if they use them in regular battle.
Yeah, but it's not a full automatic.
All it is a glorified rifle. That's all it is.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's just 223 is a big 22.
But that's
And-
what most of those gun laws are about. It's about the cosmetics. It's not about the guns themselves.
Right. And if nobody pulls the trigger, they don't hurt anybody.
Really?
Well, you don't
Right.
see
That's
nothing
what
in the
I've been
future, though,
told.
right?
What's that, Steve?
But you don't see anything in the future I just purchased one. I just purchased one up in Hooksett.
Yeah, I'd sell it. Then I absolutely see something in the future, and I think you should sell it to me for, say, $50. I'll give it to you before something bad happens.
Right, because if you're listening to this program, you got to be a radical.
Right.
You're obviously a troublemaker.
Steve, I don't foresee.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
I don't see that happening at all here.
No.
That's
unless he's
the
gonna give me
liberals
50
might try to restrict the size of the magazines.
No, not
but,
not now.
Oh yeah,
no.
I mean this.
Okay,
they're out
I'll
there,
give you
but
this.
I don't think we have to.
I'll
concern
give you
with
this.
that.
We have 400 state representatives. Every 2 years, there's on the right or the left. It really doesn't matter. There's always somebody that does something just nuts,
Right.
and it gets a lot of attention.
Right.
And nobody votes for it.
It won't go anywhere.
It's
that
not
that
going
won't
anywhere.
happen.
That's,
No.
that bill like that not going anywhere. So anyway, Kurt was asking because this is your first primary you won.
No, actually, it's the first one. Well, no, it's the second one. I ran 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago was a
Right.
Democratic year, so you
And
got knocked
there
off.
were three of us in a primary for 2 seats, of which the third candidate that was running was recognized as not serious.
Right.
So I didn't pay any attention to that.
So what did you see? I didn't know you were running. What did you win?
I won the nomination to be a representative from Stratford District 3, of which there are 2.
Okay.
One currently is a Democrat from Stratford, and one is a Republican from New Durham. And that's the whole district, Stratford and New Durham.
Okay.
Which town has greater population?
Stratford's about 50% bigger than New Durham.
Oh, that definitely benefits
Right.
you then.
A little bit. But it's a good district. I mean, they had to really strain to make it because they have to be geographically contiguous.
Right.
And we actually meet New
That
Durham
means
and Stratford.
together.
Oh,
Yeah, contiguous, like continuous only with a G.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, geez. So, they meet at one point on the map. That's
Right.
it, right? And some people know where that is. It's out in the swamp someplace.
Right.
But they do meet on the map.
Yeah.
But the towns are quite similar because they're both just
Swamp?
lakes. We have a
Lake.
big lake.
Okay,
Each one. They have Merritt Meeting Lake. We have Bull Lake, not
Right.
swamps.
They
lakes.
probably don't like it if you call it swamp.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
One of the things that goes along with lakes is you have more wetlands
Right.
than other places because you get this big puddle in the middle of the town,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, we have some swamps
Puddles
as well.
are, well, you said it was a lake before, now it's a puddle. I don't think your credibility is doing so well this evening.
Lake, swamp, puddle. I'm so confused.
I know, right?
I'm so
It's
confused.
not an ocean, I promise you.
Okay.
All right.
all right.
So anyway, we both have big lakes, which means we have a lot of lakefront property.
So you have a lot of
ti-
the same kind of issues.
a lot of the same kinds of issues. Exactly right.
Right, right.
So did you did you unseat an incumbent or is the other
No,
okay?
nothing has been unseated because we just had a primary. No
Well,
one
I
will
know,
get
but you could have knocked off.
If
Oh,
there
yeah,
had
right,
been
right.
If there had been 2 Republican incumbents, and I had finished second in the primary, then yes, I would have unseated an
But
incumbent.
you
But
didn't
that
do
wasn't
that.
the case.
Right, right.
Okay.
Because the actual incumbent finished second.
Oh, that's pretty good. So that bodes very well for you.
I finished first,
Yeah.
Okay.
right? And I
Oh.
finished first by a lot.
Oh, really? Good for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
last time I finished third in the general
Right.
by 93 votes.
And that was a Democratic year, too.
Well, that was a presidential election year. There was huge voter turnout. They were talking over there about the 100,000 people that came out and registered the same day. The lines there was like that all over the state.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that's not going to be the case.
So I lost by 93 votes
Yeah.
to the Democrat, who was the highest vote getter.
Okay.
Right.
But I picked up way more than that votes just in the primary this
Oh
time.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, so,
So-
your odds of getting in are pretty darn good.
I'm confident, right?
Now, here's a question for you, and I probably shouldn't. You're president of New Hampshire Right to Life.
President
Is that
of New
is
Hampshire
that
Right
a
to Life.
paid position?
It is not.
Okay, because I know that there are John can correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't there people who were fundamentally getting paid lobbyists who got elected and were still getting a check from that?
Yeah, and he resigned. As a matter
He
of
had to
fact.
resign,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, there is a provision in the New Hampshire Constitution
Right.
that says no representative can be an advocate for a cause before the House. Now, exactly how that's interpreted, I'm not sure, but I think the nonprofit part is but it is a question and that'd be interesting to hear what you guys have to say about that.
So you may have to step down. is
Right.
what
That's
you're
what
saying.
that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And that's what we've talked about this at New Hampshire Right to Life.
But you're not sure yet. No decision's been made. Right?
Might be a question for Bill Gardner too. He's really good.
I think it's really a question for the Ethics Committee of the House.
Yeah.
Right.
But whatever it is whatever it is. So
yeah, so you'll just cooperate and do whatever it takes.
Cross that bridge when we
I'll
get
do
there.
whatever we
Trip
think
over
is
the bridge
best
when you come
for
Right,
both.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, part of this is that when you go to run for office, as I've done, then you're volunteering to take on a responsibility for the people you represent,
Right.
right? And being president of New Hampshire Right to Life could very well interfere with that in a substantial way.
Yeah, at least in time, if nothing else.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? But that's a call that I have to make.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
there's
Right.
another whole area of it that we're talking about here.
Right, right.
And it's something to be on the board. Who was it? Was a Democrat there last year? At the beginning of this session, there was some Democrat that had a position. I think it was within the Democrat Party, and the Republicans tried to make a big deal out of it.
I don't remember.
And
I get
eventually, I guess they said it
brain
wasn't.
damage. I
It
don't
was
remember
decided it wasn't a big deal,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because it was not a paid position.
Yeah,
okay.
but that ethics committee would have been controlled by Democrats, so they might not have found it was a big deal because it.
That does give you precedent, though.
Yeah.
Well, it does, but then again, ethics is a very touchy area. Well, it is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why we
Oh,
have
yeah.
ethics committees, is
Yeah.
because it is difficult. And these questions are not just so easy to answer.
Not everyone's ethics are always the same, and
And
No.
unfortunately, I mean, it's funny. We were standing out at the polls in New Durham yesterday. I'm standing next to Dave Bickford. He's the guy that finished second and is the selectman from New Durham. This is his mode of campaigning. He campaigned very hard. He came to the polls all day.
yeah.
That was about it.
Yeah.
He actually went out one day, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But
he was saving it up for the end.
Well, he,
Yeah, saving all your.
look,
Yeah, saving
you know,
Yeah.
the Constitution says every town will be represented. Right? There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And the reason is you shouldn't have to campaign. The people should know you,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think yes. Originally, I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
But by this time, I mean, I live in a town of I don't know where is 12,000 people. Not everybody knows me. There's no way everybody knows me. The people we don't even communicate like we used to. We
Right.
used to have like town hall meetings, and everybody got together and yelled at each other and
Right.
hated each other, and
Yeah.
then went back and
Yeah.
got drunk and
Yeah, we had this conversation at the Stratford Republicans when we had a little forum for the candidates
Yeah.
Monday night. And, yeah, that small town model works great when you have 1,000 people in town,
exactly.
like 800 in Surrey. That model works just
That's
fine.
perfect. Yeah.
When you get to even as far as Stratford, we're up to 4,500 people.
Like if you look
It's tough. And see, that's what I thought last time. See, I thought I've lived in Stratford for 20 years. I've been in the scouting organization for almost
Sure.
all that time. I'm active in my church, and people know me around. You know, I don't have to campaign in Stratford.
Well, we represent basically over a little over 3,000 people.
Yeah,
right?
3,400.
Something
Well,
like that.
well, you-
so
when
it's easy if you had those people. I mean, if you could actually meet, you could meet and know an awful lot of those
3,000.
3,000 if you knew which ones they were.
Right.
But when you go into a town of Goffstown with 18,000 people, which 3,000? I mean, it's 18,000.
Yeah.
Because you don't know which 3,000 you're representing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they use that as a number that
They
we
should
take
paint.
on.
You should paint them.
Right,
Like,
everybody
have
should walk
stickers.
around with a little thing on their.
Well, they
I'm
could-
in Ward 5.
There you go.
Put the 5 right there on the forehead so everybody can see that.
Right, it would come up
there
on
something
your,
in the
it would come
Bible
up on
about
your
that?
smartphone when you're
Yeah,
near.
there you go.
Right.
You get an alert that,
Yeah,
you're,
there you go.
that you're near somebody.
But so I want to get back to so what happened in Goffstown yesterday, John?
Well, I didn't run, and Mark Warden didn't run. We
Right.
are.
Oh, no.
No, Mark Warden didn't run. We just decided
Oh,
we've
well,
been there
listen, some
long
good
enough,
men here.
and it's mine was a self prescribed term limit. I mean, I decided that. I said I wasn't going to run more than 2 terms. Well, I ran 3, and then I realized, that
That
is
was more than 2.
It's my term,
Yeah,
right? That was more than. It was more than. Well, not in Common Core language. It isn't.
Yeah.
It could equal to, and I can show you how that could happen. So, but I decided, that's enough. My business needed me. It's cost my business an awful lot of a lot of money.
Yep.
So I'm back there full time at Uptown Auto, and we've traveled all summer. Every weekend we took off. Went to
Nice.
Moosehead Lake, Central Maine, Vermont.
Well,
Cape
yeah, if
Cod,
you were running for office, you'd have to be back here pounding the pavement and
Right.
kissing babies and
looking for those 3,000 people.
looking for
right.
those 3,000, yeah.
Right. And so I just enjoyed having a great summer off, and we did an awful lot of traveling, so it was great. And,
Do you plan to get back in at some point in the future? Do you think you'll run again, or do you think you're done with it?
well, I like it a lot. It's certainly interesting. I like it very much. I had a great time, great experience. I wish everybody would try it once.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you that. I might have a lot more fun doing something
Yeah,
else.
you gotta say what all those politicians say. Well, right now we're focused on getting through this election, and we've got a governor's race and stuff like that. We have to win in the state.
I'm not
After that,
yeah.
then we'll start thinking maybe. But well, that even won't be for another
I'm not
year
one of
or
those
two.
politicians. That's
Yeah.
that's my problem. I'm telling you, I don't know. Maybe it depends
Yeah.
if I like it.
But a lot of the conservatives were knocked off the ballot in Goffstown. There was a lot of infighting in
A
town.
lot of conservatives were knocked off. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there was a lot that claimed they were that are new, but they've never run before. So,
Right.
I'm assuming that they are based on some
What
of the
they
things,
say.
what they say.
Right.
And the ones that aren't, there'll be 2 more attorneys in Concord.
Oh, we need that
Need
like a
that,
hole in the
yeah.
head.
There'll be, one is a declared Democrat for centuries, and now after
I've been
April
a
or May.
lifelong Republican.
Well, this one wasn't. This
who
one
said
has a
that?
lifelong Democrat, and she switched her party.
Yeah.
April or May. So that's what goes on in Goffstown, but that goes on all over the place. And matter of fact, I was in Bedford at the poll yesterday. I just drove over there. I had a test drive with a car, and I said, "Oh, I'll go to Bedford. I need 25 miles on this car anyway." So I stopped over, saw Keith Murphy and a bunch of the candidates over there, and they told me the same thing was going on there. That there were lifelong Democrats that had signed on as Republicans.
Do you know if they won?
I don't know if they won. I haven't checked Bedford's.
Yeah. I know. You know what's weird is I got a friend.
Emily O'Neill didn't win, and she is an active duty veteran. She was certainly a patriot and a freedom lover, and somebody that I would want representing me, but she came up short. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Bedford.
I know one of the weird ones is a friend of mine. I was on Fish and Game with Jim Webb.
Yeah.
He got he was actually a pretty conservative vote out of Derry,
Oh yeah.
but he isn't in favor of right to work. And he got one of those wicked attack ads. They just went after him. Which what is the group? What's the group that does?
Americans for Prosperity, maybe.
Yeah, Americans for Prosperity attacked him really, really hard. And it was just kind of bizarre because usually Americans for Prosperity isn't just about right to work.
Yeah.
Usually,
No,
if
they're a
usually
free
somebody,
market
if
idea.
somebody's conservative, they just kind of leave them alone, but they just disagree with them on that one. But
That's their big one.
that's their big one. And they just nailed him, and he still won. He said it probably did him some good, I guess.
Right.
But
I saw a lot of his signs. I didn't even really know who he was. But
Oh, he's a
I
nice-
saw a
he's
lot of his
Probably
signs up.
repealing Medicaid expansion and right to work is probably their 2 biggest ones.
right, he's a really good guy.
Is he?
Then here's a weird one. Another friend of ours, Mike McCarthy, was running for Senate down in Nashua, and Mike is a good conservative. Again, he's not in favor of right to work,
Right.
but he's a good conservative.
But he lost, right?
He lost.
He lost.
To Kevin Avard.
to Kevin Avard. Now here's the inside information on that, and it wasn't from Mike; it was from somebody else. They told me that because the Democrats didn't have any contests anywhere,
Yeah.
they were getting as many of them as they could to go over and vote for Avard. Because he would be easier to beat in the general election.
Huh.
Because Mike is kind of, because of his he's in favor of unions and stuff like that,
Yeah.
would be seen more as moderate in a general election, whereas Kevin is going to be seen as pretty darn far to the right.
Well, that's interesting.
Did we have Kevin Avard on the show once?
That's
Yeah,
what
but-
they said they did that
But
to
right to
Lambert
work's
too.
like
Yeah, he's got a
80%.
TV show in Nashua.
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the reasons he
But
did.
but
went
right
too.
to work's like 80% support among the general population, right?
I don't think most people even understand it.
Yeah.
They really don't. You go if I've gone to things like I went to they almost lynched me at the Goffstown Republican Committee, and I explained to them what it was, and why I voted against it, and a few of them came up. And I said, "Oh, I didn't really understand that's what it was," And voters, they say, "Oh, I heard you're against right to work." And I said, "Well, this is what the deal is."
Yeah.
They go, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that." I mean, it's because it's labeled, and this is the Democrats do that, and Republicans that they label something
Right.
so effectively that you think right to work is about people's right to work. People should have the right to work.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Well, really, yeah, it's a freedom from union dues bill, but
that's all it
It's the
is.
freedom of to choose whether you want to join the union or not.
No, it's not even that. It's a freedom to choose whether or not you're responsible for paying your percentage of the negotiating fee. That's it.
There you go. That's right.
All right. So you have 100 employees. You have the people negotiate a contract.
Right.
You get a 10% raise. Okay. All 100 have to chip in to pay for that 10% raise in New Hampshire now. If right to work goes through, only the members of the union have to pay, but the other percent gets the benefit of that 10% raise. I've always thought that was unfair.
Well,
So that's why I've always voted against it.
but on the conversely,
Yeah.
is it unfair that that a certain number of the population pay the NRA to lobby for our gun rights, but not everybody pays for them to lobby for our gun
They
rights?
should, right?
let's
Is
go.
that what you're saying?
No.
Let's put this a little more.
But,
right
but
in
what
the
I'm saying
context.
is that everybody benefits from what the NRA does for all of us, and not everybody contributes to that.
Right, and let's take this right to the workplace.
Yeah.
Because I was in this environment for 34 years at the Navy Yard,
Okay.
right, where they have unions that represent pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Right, but you don't have to join.
Right.
Okay. Now, I always paid my union dues,
Okay.
and it was somewhat irritating to me, maybe quite irritating, because the union was consistently doing stuff I didn't want them to be doing.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, and it was like that with, and I'm pretty sure this is the case everywhere.
Yep.
Roughly 40% of union members are in that situation, that the union is pursuing a political agenda or other things, but in my case it was political,
Right.
right, that I didn't agree with. And
So-
we made so much noise, the 40% of us at the Navy Yard, that our locals actually stopped doing that stuff.
Good.
Now, that didn't stop them from going out and endorsing Jean Shaheen every time she ran,
Right.
and it didn't stop them from trumpeting the things that the national unions trumpet and all of that,
Sure.
right? But it did stop them from using our money for that,
Right.
Interesting. Mm.
right?
Well, that's just it. It's
But that's what the question but that's what right to work is about. It's about, am I forced as an employee to pay into that union that's doing things that I don't want them to
well,
do?
okay. In theory, all right. The negotiating fee is just to pay the lawyers to negotiate a contract. Okay, it's only if you pay dues do you pay the extra money for the union to organize and do all the other stuff. Now, if the union is
I've
used,
I've never heard of a union that had a negotiating fee. They can kind of sort out some portion of what they do and say, well, this is what it costs us to negotiate.
I realize that. I realize that. But to me, that's what somebody said to me. He says, well, you know, we're going to spend too much time on this. But somebody told me that that the unions were charging too much for the negotiating fee, and some of it was going for, just as you said, for campaigning or whatever. And I says, well, that's a different subject entirely. That's an accounting thing where it should be accountable, and it's illegal for them to do it, and somebody should sue them because that's a legality issue, not a legislative issue, because they're allowed to take money that was used to negotiate and make sure that everybody pays their fair share of that fee. If it's muddied waters, then somebody
But look,
somebody should.
When I graduated from college, I went to school to be an accountant, and I started taking master's courses, right? And I
Yeah.
stopped doing that. You know why? Because it's all muddy water.
Oh.
And I couldn't handle it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. And you know, I'm treasurer of my church now, and we're constantly going through, well, why are you charging that against that? Why aren't you charging it against this?
Right.
This goes on everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I'm the president of New Hampshire Right to Life. We fight Planned Parenthood all the time. They say, we are audited and we never spend a dollar of your money, right?
Yeah,
We
I know.
say, no, you're cooking your books.
Right.
Abby Johnson comes out and writes books about it and says, this is how they cook their books,
Right.
right? It's all muddy water.
Right.
So you can't escape from that.
I think you could. I think you could make sure that if somebody passed legislation, if you get elected, if you pass legislation that says that the negotiating fee will go into a separate fund and only be used for so that you could see that money and it went to the lawyer A, B, C, and D, that's fine too. I'd vote for that.
They have to fix the they have to fix the right to work issue. There's a much larger problem looming within that issue.
What's that?
Well, it's not just what we vote on. It's not just what we voted on in the House 2 years ago, but it comes up every year. There's a much larger problem, and I think it happened somewhere in the mid-'90s. And I was talking to Greg Carson, who was a former representative, Senator Carson's husband, and he actually was the first one that sponsored some bill to fix this issue first. And it may be something that, for instance, what you just suggested, to just ban it and say nobody's gonna. I mean, it's a one-size-fits-all for everybody. That may be the problem. The problem is that there is a much larger problem that nobody's addressing that problem. It's just this battle that somebody says, okay, choose your side and let's go at it.
Right.
And that's probably the reason that it continues to fail. We're only talking about 10% of the workforce in New Hampshire.
I don't think it's that much
Not
anymore.
even that much.
Well, private sector.
Well, sorry.
Private
Because by
sector.
the time you add the government in,
Yeah. By the time you add the government in,
it's
you're talking.
more.
Yeah, because I've heard you say
15%.
this affects such a minute.
It's a very minute
really,
part of
really
the workforce.
It's wicked small.
But for some reason, it doesn't pass, and I think it doesn't pass because the basic right to work legislation that they keep putting in front of the legislature is flawed.
Right.
Because the real problem has never been addressed.
Right. Oh, I wanted to, just to get off right to work because so anyway, I don't know if you know, but there was a bunch of people going around Manchester, Nashua, putting up signs that say "Stop
Stop Brown.
Wow.
Big red sign says "Stop Brown."
No kidding.
Stop Scott.
I had put up
Stop
signs that
Scott?
said stop.
Yeah.
Stop Scott. which was really cool because my grandson's name's Scott, and we got one of those.
Oh, there you go.
Stop Scott, because he's crazy. Okay, so, but the really funny thing was, it was Stop Scott, and if you go to their website, one of the big arguments was that he was an interloper. He was, he's
carpetbagger.
a carpetbagger. He came
Yeah.
from another state to
Yeah.
run for office. And the irony is that one of the people, the guy from Bedford? Oh gosh, I'm gonna forget his name. Anyway, he's in charge of it.
Oh,
Of this whole effort to
Stop Scott?
Stop Scott,
okay.
and they're basically free staters.
Well,
No. Just think of the irony of a free stater who comes to the state to try to change the state and get elected, complaining because somebody's coming to the state to try to.
I think Aaron Day and Matt Phillips.
Right. So that basically, what I see as, and maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like a bunch of free staters complaining because somebody was free stating from a different angle.
So
That's interesting.
for me, this is a question of our laws are hosed,
Huh?
and we need to do substantial changes to our laws
To what? To prevent what?
to prevent somebody like. And I'm going to use Scott Brown as an example.
No, you can't do that.
You
That's
can't.
federal.
That's federal.
That's all
And it has
federal.
nothing to do with state.
that isn't true.
Oh,
Really?
yes.
Yes. Really.
Okay, go ahead.
The Constitution of the United States says that the requirement to be a senator or to be a representative, right, is set by the state. And the only thing that the federal government gets to do is say when you're going to have elections.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't believe that's true.
So you're saying that? So
We
then you
can
could
check
pass
it.
a state law that says you have to be a resident for X amount of.
Absolutely
years.
right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we should be doing.
'Cause we do
And-
that- we do that
and
with
we do
governors,
have
right?
those
The state
laws.
constitution
We
says
do
that.
have those, and you look at Walt Havenstein, and we've seen this in several of our recent elections, right? Where look at Mitt Romney, was a similar situation, right? These guys, these people have property in New Hampshire. Look at Bob Smith just came back from Florida, similar situation, right? They have property in New Hampshire. They go somewhere else. They live for a period of time, usually an extended period of time. And then they come back, and they just come back and say, well, I've been a resident of New Hampshire all this time, and so I'm going to run.
Right.
They can do that because of the way our domicile laws are written. They can do that because we don't have an election law that says you have to have been resident in the state, not domiciled, resident.
Right.
Yeah, but then the counter argument I think would be, and I don't have any particular strong feelings about this one way or the other, but I think the counter argument would be, well, why not just leave that up to the voters? Why can't the voters just decide whether or not they feel that it's appropriate for a person who's only been here for X amount of time or whatever to, whether or not they should be elected?
Right, and my answer to that would be, there are things that are left to the voters, right? But the standards for holding office are not one of those. The standards for holding office are written in our own Constitution.
Article 38.
To be a governor, to be a representative, to be a senator in the state,
Yeah.
you have to have spent X number of years in that district, in that state,
Yeah, in
Not
the state, not in the
district.
district. Yeah.
right? But
Yeah, you can
but
move to
within the
any
state.
district and run for office.
Yes, you
just,
can.
That's right.
You just have to be a resident of New
You have to be a
Hampshire.
resident of the state.
So are you saying that the current domicile laws don't adequately reflect what is in the state constitution? Is that the issue?
They're subject to such wide interpretation that
Okay.
the ballot election law commission can go, well, this is a pretty tough case. Yeah, you said you were a resident of another state, and yes, you paid taxes, and
Okay.
you did this and you did that. And it comes back to what Gary was talking about before about the ethics commission and who might be running it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they've disqualified people for less.
It's pretty clear. I mean, it's Section 2, Article 1, Section 2. House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualification requisite for the electors of most numerous branch of the state legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen.
Right.
That's it. It has nothing to do with, you don't have to live here for long.
You don't even have to live here.
No,
We
no,
could
no,
actually,
no. Well,
we could
Well,
actually,
there's no time period.
according to
mentioned
that, you don't have to even be a resident of New Hampshire until the day before you're
you have
elected.
to be an inhabitant of that state from which you
At the
shall
time
be
elected.
chosen.
Yeah.
Right. See this, but
But that's pretty clear. But that's U.S., but that's federal jurisdiction over our federal representatives.
no, they get to set that level. We can do more. As
That's
in
actually-
many other
actually,
cases,
that's not
the
an
federal
illegitimate
government can say,
argument,
this is a
'cause the
law.
federal government-
the state can do more.
The state has often been able to do. It can't. Let's see. How does it work?
No, the state can't do more. Not on this.
Well, you
I don't
say not
believe
on
so.
this.
I know
The
that.
state can't do more on this.
But there is something in the state constitution, right? That does do more.
Doesn't
isn't
talk
The
about
state,
U.S.
talks, the
representatives.
state only talks to state offices.
Because the state only has
Oh,
jurisdiction
okay.
over state representatives.
it? Okay.
Or actually, the state representative has jurisdiction over the state. But
But the state,
But
the
the
state couldn't do
Constitution.
more. Even what if what the state did doesn't directly contradict?
federal representatives are under the U.S. Constitution, which doesn't give them any time that they have to live in that state. We could actually recruit like they do on. I mean, this is the fear that I have
Yeah.
is we start acting like a Major League Baseball team and start recruiting candidates from other part.
That's what we did. That's what they did.
Well, that's what we did, but why didn't we go further? Why didn't we get somebody that everybody likes,
Right.
or wants to vote for?
Right, right,
Why don't
yeah.
we go get I don't know who, but
Ted Cruz or whatever.
well,
yeah.
maybe but anyway, the point is, we're going to start recruiting our U.S. representatives to New Hampshire, and have them, like a Major League Baseball player,
Right.
or football. We're going to start
Have a
drafting.
draft. Yeah.
We're going to start drafting our representatives.
Yeah.
And that's the fear that we have.
Well, you're right,
and I see the flaw in the U.S. Constitution that allows that to happen.
Yeah.
The highest paid.
I think the language of the Constitution would allow that, but I'm saying that the state can make their own requirements more restrictive.
Not for U.S. representatives. I don't believe that.
You guys have.
But again, I'm a mechanic at Uptown Auto Repair.
Well,
I'm not a-
constitutional questions are fascinating. So
They
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
and they're certainly, they're certainly left for interpretation,
Right.
and that's what the Supreme Court's for.
yeah.
So I guess if we have that question,
Well-
but I think the answer is pretty clear. We can all understand what that says.
You can
Yeah,
always.
Well, I'm not saying that what's happening right now is unlawful. I am saying the law should be changed, so it would be unlawful.
Right.
It would be a
right.
constitutional amendment,
I don't think so. But that's-
state or federal though.
U.S. But try to get Congress to make an amendment to
Well, no
Yeah,
way.
good
They
luck.
to limit them.
Right.
There's some really good constitutional amendments that they could do that they never did. So
Well, they're not going to do anything to limit them.
no. But it'd be interesting. You could try run it by when you get elected. You could run it through up this flagpole and see what happens.
Now,
Or
see,
even
now
before.
you have to run again, John.
I'll run for Congress. How's that?
There you go.
But Matt does have a good point in that the voters knew that the guy was a carpetbagger, and they still voted for him. So
Right.
and they might still vote for him in November. He's going to lose a lot of votes just for that reason, though.
I mean, it's possible. I'm talking to people, and I guess I kind of hope it doesn't happen. But I'm talking to people that are saying that they may not come out in support. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't look forward to that happening. But there's an awful lot of people that thought, because of those reasons, and especially his Second Amendment votes, and
He's pretty liberal.
Well, if you look at his voting record, you'll see that there's some very liberal things on there that have a lot of people concerned. And New Hampshire people, like their ability to defend themselves
Right.
with deadly force if necessary, and they don't want that right.
We got to get rid of
diminished.
that necessary part.
So it's an interesting thing to think about. and it will be fascinating to see how this comes out. Because this is a candidate who alienates somewhere between a third and maybe half the Republican base.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, but he was picked by the establishment, so he must be good.
But
Yeah.
so there's two questions that need to be answered. First of all, can he win if they don't vote for him?
Right.
Right? And secondly, will they?
No, he can't win if they don't vote for him.
His only shot then would be to peel off some
So
Democrats who don't like
what he's
James Levine.
asking, and see, this is
Which is
what is being presented
Tough, though.
to
Tough,
Republicans
but
and
possible, yeah.
especially to conservative Republicans
Yeah.
is a choice. Are you willing to compromise the principles for which you stand and fight to win a senatorial seat,
Right.
whatever
Well,
value that may or may not have?
That's that's if you want to look at it that way. If you want to look at it very, what is the perfect is the enemy of the good. I mean, in some regards, because I'm still not sure where I stand on that, but in some regards, voting for him, if you kicked out Gene Shaheen, you might end up with a majority Republican Senate, which is huge. And what Scott Brown does after that is almost irrelevant comparatively speaking.
One thing to be said for having a Republican Senate, right? And there's two things to be said, but so I'll just say one, and that is this: that a lot of the things that come out of the House
Would end up on the president's desk.
would come to the floor of the Senate.
Right.
Whether they would pass or not is very hard to say,
But at least they'd be
because the
voted
Republican Party has diversity. And if you have 51 or 52 seats, and you have diversity within your caucus, the chances of actually pushing things through the Senate isn't really very good at all.
on. Right.
And that's
Yeah,
the
but
way the
still-
Republicans have been every time they've had the Senate
Right.
in the last, 75 years.
Right. I understand that, but still, the fact that the stuff that's comes out of the House actually gets voted on would be a huge improvement.
That would be a huge
There would
improvement.
also be a lot more things that ended up on the president's desk that he would have to put up or shut up on.
Which he doesn't care. But your point's well taken, and that would be the advantage.
And there's the other variable is that cotton picking United States Supreme Court is teetering on. They've made some pretty liberal decisions. If
Yes.
You got another Martha Fuller Ginsburg in there, and we're nailed.
Did you guys see,
No.
by the way, the clip of Chris Sununu, his Freudian slip, when he was introducing Scott Brown at an event?
No, what?
And he said, "This guy, I can tell, is something like this guy's he's not a phony from Massachusetts. He slipped and said he's a phony from New Hampshire who just used to happen to live in Massachusetts."
Oh no!
I saw that on the news last night. I was like, "That's amazing."
Oh,
amazing.
the Democrats are going to use that a lot.
Yeah.
That Senate race is going to cost
Millions
$10
and
million.
millions. Oh, yeah.
and you got to wonder, you have to wonder why. I
Right.
mean, that's an awful lot of money to spend on a race.
Well, no, we know why.
Well, we do know why. I mean, you don't have to wonder why, but
You can if you'd
but
like.
you should think. But the people out there should be thinking about this.
Yeah.
Senator Shaheen, and last night, Paul Hodes and Tom Rath was doing a after election kind of follow up on, I think, one of the Boston stations, 38 maybe. And I was watching them, and they were talking that there's going to be plenty of money for both sides.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's it's a lot to do with money, and obviously one group or the other group is the beneficiary of an awful lot of money to spread around to their.
This
to
would be
their
an awesome
yeah.
opportunity because if it's $10 million,
At least $10 million.
Okay,
from
let's-
each
okay,
side,
okay, okay,
$20,
just-
$30 million.
$10 million,
to win this,
right?
For both sides.
What's the
spending.
number of voters in New Hampshire?
I don't know, 500,000 maybe, 450,000.
Okay, what's
Yeah,
the
maybe.
number of like independents and Republicans?
Third, maybe.
So maybe
Democrats,
two or three.
Republicans.
Say 250,000,
What?
right?
Independents?
So you could like just send everybody gift certificates to Dunkin' Donuts that votes.
Yeah. What would that
Instead
get you?
of- What? This is here's
What, are you
the
trying to
gift
tell me I can be bought for a gift certificate at Dunkin' Donuts?
I can.
You should be a campaign manager, Gary.
We could help an awful lot of. We could help an awful lot of
This-
people.
Well, no, think about this. They get $10 million, right? They get all these gift certificates from Dunkin' Donuts, and they send you a card that says, "Hi, this is from Scott Brown. I'm not going to pay for ads that you hate, watching ads that you hate for the next 3 months. I hope you appreciate this and vote for me in November."
Go down and have it done, yeah.
I bet that'll
Yeah.
work. I bet people say, "Oh,
Rather than put ads on TV,
Rather-
I'm
rather than-
going to buy you a donut and coffee.
Right.
What's
Right?
MUR
I'm a
going to?
genius."
What's
You are? I am a
WMUR going to
genius.
do if they don't get that money?
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Right.
They'll come out against Scott Brown.
Yeah, you got to do it. Right. They won't endorse them.
Okay, so we only got a few minutes left. I want to talk to something else that Kurt and I were talking on the way over here. Was the and people might not know this, but as a state representative, there are some weird things you get to do or have to do, I suppose, if you want to look at it like that. One is you may not know this is the Secretary of State is elected by the House.
No, the Secretary of the House.
No,
Secretary
the
of
Secretary
State.
of State is
Gardner?
elected by the House.
Bill Gardner is elected by the House.
And so is the state treasurer.
And so is the state treasurer. So it's actually quite interesting because I went into Bill's office one time. I says, I would never admit to the voters of Ware that every 2 years I vote for a Democrat. And I was just kidding because I don't care. I think he's very, very good, and in some ways he's just the wealth of knowledge that guy has is just phenomenal. But anyway, so he says there was one state rep from up north that always told his voters he never voted for a Democrat in his life and all this stuff, and he was like really upset that somebody might find out he voted for Bill Gardner as Secretary of State, which is kind of comical to me.
Yeah, the House clerk, the
House clerk,
state treasurer, Kathy Provencher,
Yep.
and Bill Gardner.
Yep.
Yeah, those are the three that the House.
And the House clerk's position's up for grabs this year because Karen Wadsworth
Yeah.
has been up there for 573 years.
Right.
At least, yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't look a day over.
Was she a vampire?
300.
Yeah, she's definitely.
She looks half her age, right? What a sweetheart, though. Karen is.
Yeah.
Karen's a great friend.
But she's not running, so we got Joel Winters, who was a state rep from Democratic state rep from Manchester's running for actually probably
House clerk. Yeah.
House clerk,
Yep.
and then Paul Smith,
Paul Smith.
who's been up in the clerk's office for quite a while and a good Republican for a long time. He's running for the House clerk seat, which
And-
actually pays pretty good.
and Candace Bouchard.
Oh, Candace Bouchard. Okay.
Yeah, so there's three of them. There's three of them. Two Democrats and a Republican.
So does-
It's really a nonpartisan kind of thing
So does-
because Karen treated everybody well.
But would,
Yeah.
would a rep have to give up their seat?
Well, he's
hold
not
the
running. No,
position?
he's running for clerk, not for.
He's
rep.
not running for seat.
He's not
He's
running
not
for
running
state
for
rep.
rep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't be a state rep and a clerk.
That's what I was
That'd
asking.
be a wicked
Right, but it's a
conflict.
very nonpartisan. I mean, unless Karen was just so great at working with either side that there was, I didn't know what she I didn't know what party she belonged to because she was
No, she's been a
equally.
Republican for a long time.
Yeah, I found that out, but in the beginning, I didn't know she was equally great
Right, and that's
with
the way it
either
should be with
party.
that kind of job, right?
Absolutely, that
basically
she, yeah, she's got a.
scheduling the things on the floor.
She's the house clerk. She's not
managing
a
the
party
debate,
clerk.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
scheduling the fights and find out who's going to fight and on what side when and when the
Yeah,
bills are
and
coming
she
up.
was. I think she was wasn't she the president of the Clerks Association or something? I
and
mean,
something like that. And she's also
she was
the-
a national. She was a national president of her organization.
Oh,
Yeah, she also had a great deal to do with the writing the. Was it Robert's Rules of Order that we go by?
No,
No, that was Roberts.
Roberts wrote those. Yeah.
No,
there's,
is it-
a,
what-
there's
what-
a separate one. Masons?
Ma-
Yes, Masons.
But
Oh,
I
well,
think we
Mason
use- I
wrote
think-
those.
No, I thought we used Robert's Rules of Order, don't
No.
We use Robert's rules in the House.
we? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She helped write that.
Yes, we use Robert's rules in the House. We don't use Masons because
No, we don't.
Masons is for
Masons.
committees and different but not the state. The legislature uses Mason's rules.
Robert's Rules.
Robert's rules. Robert's rules. The
Somebody's
legisla-
rules.
No, the legislature uses
Tailored
Robert's
to their
rules.
own.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a
no.
lot of. It's,
Well-
it's pretty close, but there are some.
Well, we have
hiccups.
parliamentarians that know Robert's rules well, and they're able to back up things. Sean Jasper was great at that. You
Yeah.
know, if there was a question that came up, he'd clarify things according to Robert's rules.
Because a lot of times you can if you really know the rules really well, you can actually kill a bill just by knowing which rules to
You
apply.
can do parliamentary maneuvering everybody hates.
Yeah, everybody hates because it takes so long.
Right.
It takes so long.
Right.
Like a motion to lay on the table.
That sounds inappropriate.
It seems
Frankly.
like yeah, some of the
mixed company.
some of the people that make that motion to lay on the table, you don't want them laying on the table. If you know what I'm saying? That's one of the things I made. Because when I first was elected, people said, "Well, because you have to get up to the well and speak in front of 400 people."
Imagine that. Go to the well.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you go to the well and speak in front of 400 people, and one of the advices people gave you is always to try to calm yourself down, as to picture everybody naked so that you're on equal footing.
That's a pretty nasty picture for.
That I know. You look at the average age of the New Hampshire House. That is not something you don't want to do that after lunch, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know,
Throw up in the well.
Oh yeah. I guess that's why they call it a well, maybe. I don't know. So we get. So we get to pick the
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, the
Treasurer.
State Treasurer, and the Clerk of Court, Clerk of the House,
Clerk, yeah.
and the Sergeant at Arms is
And
the other
Sergeant
one.
at Arms, yes.
Yeah, and all those people. There are actually some pretty cool people that we have up there doing those jobs.
Yeah.
What else did I want? Something else I had on my mind that I want to cover. Oh yeah, who won that we had on our show? Marilyn de Garcia was on the show,
Yes,
and she won.
thus disproving the curse.
Absolutely, because Ross Terrio said that everybody that shows up on the show loses.
Yeah.
I won.
I didn't. Well, yeah,
Well,
but
that's
you weren't
true,
on the
too.
show as running for state
Oh,
rep
not as
yet.
running for state rep.
Now
Yeah,
that you're
that's
running in
true.
the general, you're theoretically you could be under the curse.
And you won.
Yeah.
I won, yeah.
So
but
Ross is.
Ross is full of baloney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was off.
Ross has only
His-
himself to blame.
Now his wife would not appear on the show. I called
Did
him.
Ross win?
Probably. He's like there's
There's
only
some-
one
there's-
Republican that runs in Manchester anyway, right? So, yeah. But anyway, it's just a primary in Manchester. I mean,
Yeah.
how hard can that be? So I asked his wife to come on because she was running against Shaheen, and she didn't appear on the show, and she didn't win.
Uh-huh.
So I think Ross is full of baloney.
I think so too.
Who else do we? Oh,
Ross's wife ran against.
Jean Shaheen. Wow. She got 2%.
Oh, I didn't know that was his wife.
That's his wife.
So
yeah.
he's a Republican?
It's a mixed marriage,
It's a
yes.
mixed marriage. Yeah.
Mixed marriage.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very modern couple.
Yes.
Very, very.
Very cutting edge.
Right. You have to pass a law against that.
I know. But let's see. What else happened yesterday? There's a lot of stuff that happened yesterday. So Gary Lambert bit the dust.
Yeah.
He
He deserved
Well,
to
one
after
of
that
them
ad.
Bob Smith.
Bob
Jim
Smith,
Rubens.
Bob Smith. Oh, both of those were on my show.
Yeah.
That's true. Wow,
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
I
Well, Ross is looking a little bit, better now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he looks any better because of that, but I mean,
Well,
His prediction.
Statistically.
oh, okay.
Yeah, statistically.
I didn't really look at him that way, but if you do, whatever, it's I'm okay with that. So we had they didn't do too good. Bob Smith is such a good guy, though.
Andrew Hemingway.
Oh, Andrew Hemingway didn't come on the show though.
No, he's never been on.
He's never been on. I invited him,
see.
but he didn't come
There you
on.
go.
But who else? Who else do we have on? Da-da-da-da-da. Anybody else?
I don't know, I'm drawing a blank.
Did you have Jim Williams? What's it? William CD2, Marilinda. There
Lawrence?
was Jim Lawrence. Did you have Jim Lawrence?
No, because he started so late. That I really didn't have an opportunity. I had us booked up to the.
So how about CD1? You didn't have Frank? Did you have Frank?
I invited him. I tried to get in touch with him. I tried to get in touch with
How
his
about
competitor.
Brendan Kelly?
No.
No.
Boulogne
No.
from he ran.
No, but we did have
Gerard
Jane Cormier on, and
She lost. Yeah.
she did good though. She did good.
Against Booten.
Booten had a boatload of money.
Right.
I mean, he's got a lot. That's one thing people don't understand. These people, their season after season run for Senate. Look how much money they got.
Right.
There's not good.
Well,
We're about
this is you're
Yeah,
forced-
we're out of time.
I mean,
You're
it's too
you're
bad
almost
when
forced to
money
do that.
wins elections. I mean, I can't.
it does.
It does.
in
And,
my
you know,
in my district, it was Jerry Little. Jerry Little was on the show.
J.P. Marzullo.
Yeah.
Right. Who everybody likes JP.
Yeah.
Great guy. Vice chair of the state
Party.
GOP
Yep.
of the party.
Right, but they didn't. The party didn't support him. They supported Jerry Little, and Jerry Little had a boatload of money. He threw, and he's a nice guy too. He's on the show.
Yeah.
Both those guys are on the show. I like them
Yeah.
both.
One day the people will wake up, then that money should not win elections.
No,
I
you
don't-
should look at whatever's in their kitty. You should look at that and say, I'm not voting.
Nice
for that
kitty. Stay,
one. Nice,
right.
stay kitty, stay.
Right.
Those
Yeah.
are dangerous little kitties. Hey, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks,
guys.
Yeah.